Welcome to Unleash Your Genius. I'm Gavin Lund. Before I start giving you an idea of what the program's about and just introducing you to this process, I'd like to take a moment and just explain to you why I put this program together in the first place. And the reason I put this program together, apart from the fact that it's really become a passion of mine in life, is helping people not only understand their genius, but in doing so, enabling them to start discovering and clarifying what their purpose is in life. Having worked with numerous and many people over the years in the form of coaching and training, one thing that really struck me was how few people have a clear idea of what their purpose is in life, and how few people have a clear idea of what their unique genius is. And the way I define your unique genius, it's that gift that every single one of us has, that unique gift, that's something that you can do that nobody else can do. It's that the way that you look at things, or the way that you think about things, or just and how all those elements about you, those unique elements, all come together and create that unique ability. And we all have that. We're all born with and developed that as we grew up through our first 16 years or so. But it struck me that very few people understood what their unique genius was. And in my mind, if you're not clear on what your unique genius is, it makes it very difficult to start understanding where your purpose is and what your purpose is. Dr. Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, Dr. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist who was taken into the Nazi death camps in Germany during the Second World War. And coming from a psychiatry background, he really used that experience to try and understand more about the psyche of human beings and what we go through. And one of the things that he discovered was that the people that had meaning, in other words, the people that had found some purpose of why they were going through what they were going through, and therefore the experiences had meaning to them, were the ones that survived. The ones that lost purpose and meaning were the ones that died. And so what I'm going to be doing, and why I'm taking you through this program, and I'm very pleased that you've signed up for this program, and I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy what I've put together in the next up and coming modules. But one of the things is I'm going to give you a big push and shove in the right direction in terms of helping you clarify what that purpose is for you. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to start helping you to build a very clear model of who you are. We're going to be looking at two aspects. We're going to be looking at who you are in terms of your hardware, and then we're going to be looking at who have you learned to be in terms of your software. Because a lot of times what people do is they confuse their hardware with their software. And so they've learned certain things, they have certain fears, or they have learned certain patterns, they've programmed certain patterns of behavior or emotion or whatever it may be into the way they do things, and they've then incorporated that into, this is just who I am. And often those can be very limiting. So it's very important for us to not only clarify what your real hardware is about, what's you and what's not you, but to really know what are those patterns that you have perhaps been stuck in. Because quite frankly, every single one of us, to some degree or another, is damaged goods, because we haven't come through life in a bubble wrap. And because we haven't come through life in a bubble wrap, every single one of us, to varying degrees, has got into patterns that limit us, that aren't working for us. So by building a really clear model of who you are, and so who you are and who you're not, in other words, your hardware and your software, when you start understanding that unique genius, your unique genius, you're in a better place to start clarifying how to apply that, and therefore gaining clarity on that purpose. If you think about purpose and genius, your unique genius is the tool. And it's very difficult to start trying to clarify what is the right job for me. When I say job, I'm not talking about career. I'm talking about, if you take a tool, and if I take a spanner, I got a pretty good idea of what kind of job that spanner is used for. Therefore, I've got a pretty good idea of what the purpose of that spanner is. But if I don't know what tool I've got in my hand, it makes it very difficult to start clarifying what's the job that this tool is going to be used for. So I think that's the first place we're going to start, is really start building this clear picture of what is that unique genius, what is your tool, what is that thing that you bring that nobody else can bring. And when you start getting more and more clear on that, you start naturally getting clarity on where do I apply this, what's that purpose. And to the extent that we start really clarifying that our purpose in life, is the extent that our life takes on meaning. And when we have meaning in life, we have meaning and purpose in life, not only do we perform better, not only does life become more full, more rich, more fulfilling, but it helps us through the difficult times. Because there's a reason why we're going through this. There's light at the other end of the tunnel. And so if you're sitting there and you're going, well, I don't know if I have any unique special gift or unique genius, let me tell you categorically you do. You just perhaps haven't discovered it yet. And that is my purpose for this program. You know, even if I look at my own life and I look back almost on a timeline, it's amazing to me, and it never ceases to amaze me, just how many seemingly synchronous events. And Carl Jung was the psychologist that coined the term synchronicity. You know, those chance meetings or those random events where perhaps you just overhear a piece of conversation and it was just what you needed to hear at that time. Or you mistakenly met up with somebody and they were the right person for you to meet up with at that time. And it changed the course of your life. Those are synchronous events or synchronous moments. And it never ceases to amaze me when I look back at my life, just how many of those have happened. And they're seemingly random. But if they hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be where I am today. And to me, that speaks of purpose. To me, the fact that every single one of us has a unique genius, that is unique, no one else has it, means to me that there's a reason you've got that. There's a reason you hold that tool in your hand. And it's our responsibility to take that tool and use it and apply it and give it and offer it. Because if we don't, it's lost. And nobody else can do that. So this is why I've put the program together, and I'm convinced you're going to have an absolute amazing adventure as we progress through the up and coming modules. What I am going to ask you though is the modules have been designed so that we have roughly 3 to 4 weeks in between each of the modules, and that's important, and I'd really urge you not to jump ahead, because sometimes we can understand something intellectually. In other words, one of my favorite sayings is, be careful of intellectual knowledge. It sometimes gives you the illusion that you know something. And what I mean by that, just so that I'm clear, is that sometimes we'll understand something intellectually and we go, yeah, I know that. Well, quite frankly, if we're not applying it, if we're not demonstrating in our life, we don't know it, we understand it. And there's a big difference between knowing and understanding. And so the purpose of having a couple of weeks in between each of the modules is to give you an opportunity to let that understanding, that intellectual understanding, settle, so that you start experiencing it, seeing it, and living it on a day-to-day basis. You can start saying, I can see that happening there. I can see that happening. I can now understand why I did that in that situation. And the more that you do that, the more that you make those connections and those distinctions, the more it takes it from intellectual understanding to inner knowing. And that is where real change, real transformation happens.